history of science. We're going to have a look at how science started. Our first lesson is going to be on what is science itself, and then we're going to go all the way through to when science started till today, September of 2018. I assure you that you're going to have a very exciting time during the course, and I hope you enjoy it. So, okay, my dear ODLRI students, again, I welcome you to the course, History of Science. And our first lesson, as I said in the introduction, is for us to even see what is science. In talking about what is science, we will be our objectives for the lesson are the following. We'll be looking at different definitions of science. We say what is science? Many people will define it in different ways. But we will, for the purpose of this our course, agree on what we can call the operational definition. And then the third thing we'll do in this lesson is for us to state the advantages and disadvantages of science to humanity. So let us begin with the definitions of science. As I said, different people have defined science in different ways. Now, in 1984, Professor Baja, my teacher, while I was in the University of Ibadan, serving as secretary of the Science Teachers Association of Nigeria, he was then president. We decided to conduct a national survey entitled What is Science? And that became the position paper number 1 of STAN in 1984. So what did we find? We found that most of the people who surveyed, we aggregated their views. So science is a human activity with processes and products aimed at an understanding of the world and for improving the quality of life. So that's the definition Baja and Okebukola derived from the national survey. Let's look at what another scientist, how he has defined science. Smith defines science as the study of the nature and behavior of natural things and the knowledge that we obtain about them. So let's keep going on. Now this man is named the scientist of the 20th century. You know, we're in the 21st century. This man is Albert Einstein. Mind how I pronounce the name? Einstein. Now, how did Einstein, this great scientist, who gave us this equation, E is equal to mc squared, how did he define science? Einstein in 1967 defined science as an enterprise that builds and organizes knowledge in the form of testable explanations and predictions about the world. Now, we're going to listen to some of our great scientists. Professor Tunde Owolabi is a great physics educator. Let us listen to what Professor Owolabi has to say about
My name is Professor Owolabi. Science is an organized body of knowledge obtained through observation of natural phenomena.
Yeah, I'm so sorry we're not able to hear him well because the camera that I used, the microphone has some challenge. But what Professor Owolabi is telling us is that science is studying natural phenomena. Now let's go to another great scientist, mathematician, Dr. Rashid Sani.
I'm Rashid Sani from the Department of Science and Technology Education of Lagos State University. Science is the study of man and its environment. It talks about man and the way he lives and interacts with everything within its environment.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Sani. I hope you're able to hear Professor Sani well. Now let's see one of our students. Let's see how a student of our department, the Department of Science and Technology Education of LASU, has defined science.
My name is Amosese Makusefemi from Faculty of Education, Department of Mathematics. Science is a subject that deals with nature that tell us things that happen around the globe.
Yeah, science about nature, what has happened around the globe. A study of such things. Now, the second objective of our lesson is to agree on an operational definition. Now, I've come up with this operational definition, harvesting all the definitions that we have seen so far and others. And I think when we say agree, it means you and I, my student, my distance learning student, you agree with me. Well, let me hope that you do. So we are going to take the definition of science for this course to be a systematic. That means there's a procedure to it, study of nature. But as well as I do, that this definition is also handicapped because it's just talking about the study, that's the process, and it's not talking about the products. But let us stick with this as our operational definition. So I've done objective one, which is on definition of science. We've done objective two, which is agreeing on the operational definition of science. So, dear students, what's next? Okay, you got it. Objective number three. Objective number three has to do with listing or discussing the advantages and disadvantages of science. So let's begin with the advantages. Now, let me get back here. Before we talk about it, I'd like you to think about the advantages of science. Now, you are at a distance to me. You are not in my class physically, and you are listening to my the lesson for this week. And on Tuesday, you'll be coming to class virtually to do on Wednesday, to do the discussion forum. And we're going to have a test at the end of the week. Now you can see this is science in action. There are several things that we can list about the advantages of science. So can you just think about some of these advantages? Now let's proceed with some of them. Here, I'm talking about science being helpful in the area of medicine. Now, our life expectancy has lengthened. We're living longer, and the rate of death of our youth under 5 mortality, that is, children under the age of 5, they die so easily because of some diseases. But science has helped in reducing under 5 death or mortality. Now, we have agriculture. You can cultivate several acres of hectares of land. Unlike without science, you just use your hoe. Well, of course, that's also some science at the primitive level. You use your hoe and cutlass, but with mechanization, science has helped. Better seeds, better techniques for irrigation, pest control. What about transportation? When I was living in Bereko, Badagry, if I walked to Lasso, it would have taken me almost maybe half a day or so. But then I was using a Peugeot 504 GL. In 20 minutes, I'm in Lasso. But of course, not these days with the traffic on the road and some bad roads. Now, railway, we're having the Lagos State government, for instance, is now constructing some rail line from, I think it's Orile, all the way to Badagry. So, if you want to go by ship, so transportation, jet plane, you want to go to Abuja, by road it will take you maybe like 8 hours, 10, but by flight in an hour you're already in Abuja. So the version of the computer has also helped tremendously. Like I'm using the computer now to be able to get this lesson across to you. We're talking about diseases. We've talked about space exploration. I've also talked about making our life healthier and longer. And we also talked about the matter of good health and longevity. What about disadvantages? Everything that has an advantage has a disadvantage. Now, we're having machines that may, over time, lead to increased unemployment. Have you heard of driverless cars? If you have not, in another 15 years, many cars on our roads will be driverless. So our drivers will be out of job. Now, in those days, you need a secretary in the department. In ODLRI, for instance, you need the institute, a lot of secretaries to be typing. But now with the computer, I'm sitting down in my house and I'm doing that myself. So unemployment will come in. Now, pollution of the atmosphere, moral fabric is gone down. You are using your smartphones. Instead of some people using a smartphone to do ODLRI work, they use it for pornography, they use it for 419 and scams. So these are things that are some of the disadvantages. And of course, all these terrorists are using technology, are using science and in broader technology, to harm. And warfare, use of sophisticated weapons or armament to bomb places. These are some of these disadvantages of science. So, as we conclude this lesson, what have we learned? In this lesson, we are examining different definitions of science. We looked at Badger and Okebukola. We looked at Smith. And we looked at Einstein. And we agreed on an operational definition of science. We also highlighted some of the numerous benefits, then plenty, numerous benefits of science, and also some of the harmful effects to humanity. Might have, I didn't say harmful effects or benefits to man. The better label is humanity. Rather than say man, to use it generic for man and woman, it's better we use humanity. So, dear students, in the next lesson, I hope you have enjoyed this one. The next lesson is going to be quite exciting. We'll be looking at for reasons for why we're going to study the history of science. This course is history of science. So we'll be looking at why. Why should we study the history of science? And then we'll begin. The war begins. We're going to start narrating the early history of science. So until next lesson, dear students, it's bye-bye for now. But remember, on Wednesday, you are going to have a discussion forum. I'm going to post the topic on Tuesday. Please contribute to the discussion, because you're going to earn some marks there. And then on Friday, remember, there is a test. So for now, dear students, it is bye-bye for now. Bye.